The classroom aboard the galactic education vessel Serenova smelled of recycled air and mild anxiety. Professor Zinthari, a tall, six-limbed variety with iridescent scales and four blinking amber eyes, tapped the holographic display with the tip of his primary claw. The lesson today was apex predators of the known galaxy, a unit that never failed to produce wide eyes, trembling mandibles, and at least one student fainting in the back row. He had 23 students seated before him, 22 alien species, and one human. The human's name was Ryan. Ryan sat in the third row, leaning back in his chair with the kind of relaxed posture that suggested either deep calm or deep stupidity. Professor Zinthari had not yet determined which. The boy was 17 years old by Earth's calendar, broad-shouldered for his species, with dark hair and a faint scar along his jaw that he had never explained. He wore his standard-issue gray academy uniform, but somehow it looked more casual on him than on anyone else. Collar open, sleeves rolled to the elbows. Beside him sat his closest friend aboard the Serenova, Mila, a Tharesi girl with pale violet skin, 6 delicate fingers on each hand, and enormous silver eyes that currently reflected the projection screen with a look of genuine dread. Mila was, by any academic measure, the top xenobiology student in the class. She was also, by any personal measure, terrified of anything with teeth. Today, Professor Zinthari announced, lowering his voice for theatrical effect, "We will study the creature that holds the highest fear response rating ever recorded across 63 surveyed alien species." Mila sat up straighter. Ryan yawned. "The data was compiled over 400 years," Zinthari continued, clicking his claws together. "Audio recordings, visual captures, pheromone analyses, all cross-referenced against physiological fear responses in documented species. The result was unanimous." He pressed the holographic panel. The room filled with sound. It was not loud, not at first. It began as a low vibration, something felt in the chest before it was heard by the ears. A deep, resonant rumble that climbed slowly, steadily, like something enormous pulling itself upright in the dark. Then it crested, an explosive, rolling thunder of a roar that shook the acoustic panels in the ceiling and sent several students scrambling backward in their chairs. Kivri, the small Lashan boy in the front row, made a sound like a deflating balloon and slid beneath his desk. Mila grabbed Ryan's arm with all 12 fingers and made a noise that was technically a whisper but contained the emotional energy of a full scream. 3 other students activated their personal emergency calming devices. And Ryan tilted his head slightly. The roar faded. The room sat in stunned silence, except for the soft sound of Kivri whimpering under his desk. Professor Zinthari let the fear settle like dust before speaking. "That," he said gravely, "is the most terrifying predator sound ever cataloged. It comes from a creature that ranks number 1 in the Galactic Index of Dangerous Fauna. A beast so fearsome that in ancient mythologies across multiple uncontacted civilizations, gods and monsters are described with its voice." He paused. "Can anyone tell me what species this is?" Silence. Then Ryan raised his hand. Zinthari blinked all 4 eyes. "Yes, student Ryan? You mean a lion?" The professor stared at him. Mila slowly turned to look at Ryan. Her silver eyes were the size of small moons. "A what?" she whispered. "A lion," Ryan said again, completely conversational, like he was identifying a fruit. "African lion. Probably a male. You can tell from how the roar sustains at the end. Females have shorter bursts." He paused. "Was that helpful?" Zinthari set down his claw pointer. "Very carefully, the way one sets down something fragile. You recognize this sound?" "Yeah." Ryan scratched the back of his neck. "We have them at zoos. I went to the Johannesburg Wildlife Reserve when I was 9. One roared about 6 feet from the fence." He thought about it. Actually, that was a bit much. But still. Mila made a small, strangled noise. "There are fences?" "Well, yeah. You need fences, or they'd walk into the gift shop." "Walk into the—" Mila stopped. Restarted. "Ryan, that creature's roar just caused 3 of our classmates to trigger emergency responses. Kivri is currently under his desk." "Kivri's fine," Ryan said, glancing down. "Right, Kivri?" A small, muffled voice rose from beneath the desk. "I am not fine." "You will be," Ryan said reassuringly. Professor Zinthari was doing the thing his species did when overwhelmed. all four eyes blinking independently, out of sync, like a malfunctioning traffic signal. He pulled up the species file. The creature you call a lion, he said slowly, has a roar audible from 8 kilometers. 8.5, actually, Ryan said, on a quiet night. It weighs up to 250 kilograms. Yeah, big males especially. It brings down prey several times its own mass. Cooperative hunting, Ryan nodded. The females mostly do it. Lions are actually pretty interesting. It's a matriarchal hunting structure with a patriarchal social dominance overlay. Kind of complicated, honestly. Zinthri stared at his student for a long moment. Then he pulled up the next slide. A visual image of the lion, mid-roar, golden mane expanded, teeth bared. For more students flinched. One covered their sensory organs entirely. Ryan looked at the image warmly. Oh, that's a good photo. That's a big one. Beautiful animal. Beautiful, Mila repeated, in the tone of someone questioning the entire nature of reality. Well, yeah. Ryan glanced at her, then at the image, then back. Mila, what would you call it? Nightmare, she said immediately. I would call it a nightmare. They're endangered, actually, Ryan said, a shadow crossing his face. We almost lost them. There are conservation programs now. Things are better than they were, but it's still a concern. He paused. That's the part that actually bothers me. The room was quiet. Professor Zinthri had been teaching xenobiology for 31 years. He had shown this recording to hundreds of classes. He had watched Valorian warriors, species that fought ritual combat as a cultural greeting, flinch at that roar. He had watched Drenithi academics, beings of pure intellectual calm, request to leave the room. He had never, in 31 years, had a student respond with conservation concern. He closed the lion file. He opened another. Perhaps, he said carefully, we should move to the second entry on the list. He brought up a new recording. This creature holds the second position. Its call is described in the Xenolinguistic Survey as the sound of a world ending slowly. He played it. The sound was different from the lion. Lower, older somehow. A tectonic groan that vibrated somewhere below conscious hearing and triggered something ancient in the brainstem of every creature that had ever evolved a predator avoidance response. 2 more students left their seats. Mila pressed her face into her hands. Ryan straightened up, not with fear, with recognition. Is that? He leaned forward slightly. Is that a humpback whale? Zinthri closed his eyes. All 4 of them. We have songs, Ryan continued, now openly delighted. We have recordings. They communicate across whole ocean basins. They're incredibly intelligent. There are whale-watching tours. You get on a boat and you just, he gestured expressively, sit near them. They come close sometimes. They're curious. You approach them, Mila said flatly. They approach us, technically. You just provide the boat. Ryan. What? That sound, Mila said, her voice very careful, very measured, triggered the second highest fear response in galactic history. In sentient beings across 63 species. I know, it's amazing, right? Ryan said, imagine being in the water and hearing that below you. We actually have recordings of divers. Stop. He stopped. Mila looked at him. Really looked at him. She had been his friend for 8 months aboard this vessel, and she had always known, academically, that humans were unusual. The xenobiology textbooks said so. The safety briefings said so. Even the academy counselor had said so, in a gentle way, during orientation. But sometimes knowing a thing and feeling a thing were very different. Ryan, she said quietly, your planet, the place you grew up. Yeah. It has the 2 most terrifying creatures in the known galaxy. Living there. Walking around. Swimming, in the whale's case. Living there, she repeated. And you want to see them. Voluntarily. For fun. Ryan considered this seriously, the way she appreciated that he did. He never dismissed her perspective. He thought about the question genuinely. I mean, he said finally, we also have grizzly bears, great white sharks, saltwater crocodiles, African elephants, hippopotamuses, which are actually the most dangerous large mammals statistically, cassowaries, Komodo dragons, and golden poison dart frogs. He paused. Also mosquitoes, but that's a different category. The silence that followed was profound. Kivri, still under the desk, spoke first. His voice was very small. How, he asked, are any of you alive? Ryan looked down at him with genuine warmth. Then he smiled. The easy, uncomplicated smile of someone who had grown up on a planet that never once promised to be gentle and had loved it anyway. Practice, he said. Later that evening, Mila filed a formal request to update the xenobiology curriculum. Specifically, she asked that the unit on Earth be moved from the interesting biological diversity section to the extreme hazard environments section, where it more accurately belonged. The request was approved unanimously. Ryan thought this was very funny.